Welcome to the Your Family Dog podcast, where we celebrate the special bond between families and their canine companions. Our goal is to help families and dogs grow up together, one episode at a time. Welcome back to the Your Family Dog podcast. I'm your host, Tina Spring, and I'm joined today by Donny Wilson, who works with a business called Pawtism. And their mission is to provide financial support to those planning to add an autism assistance dog to their family, while also raising awareness of the immense potential these animals have to change lives. So, welcome to the podcast, Donny. I am so excited to have you on. I've wanted to have you on for a couple of months. So, talk to the listeners a little bit about you and a little bit about Pawtism.
Oh, gee, I have to talk about myself. My wife would tell you I'm probably okay at that. But Pawtism, honestly, it's where do you start? And I guess I'll give you a little bit of a background origin story. We have a newly turned 13-year-old, our oldest, so hard to really grasp the fact that he's a teenager. Nonverbal, hearing impaired, autistic child. And we had just kind of started seeing his gravitation towards dogs early on. And kind of my wife, who's a speech therapist, kind of dove into that, like, oh, we should maybe talk to people who have service dogs. And then we actually had some friends that went to our church who had a service dog. So we got to see a little bit of that. And their son was similar to our kid as far as like their traits. So we started down the path and we found a trainer, and the process ended up taking us, which I don't want to speak for other families, but like with families that are like balancing a lot of hectic natures in their life. It doesn't have to be autism, but if that's it. You are going to be really good at kicking the can down the road or procrastinating. So it took us a solid 2 years for this, like to even get the application done. One of the reasons why is it like they wanted to videotape, 5 different videos of a minute each of them being happy, them dimming on some or like how they calm themselves, and them being upset. And I was like, all right, first 2, easy. I'm not usually one to whip out my phone and record my child in distress
Right.
or like think about it. And so it's all past and we're like, crap, we haven't done like that. So and all the way speed that up. And now when we got to the, finalize application, send it in, and then we're getting to the financials aspect. So I would say, we are blessed as far as like we had community. We knew that it was going to be a large venture. I looked at it as the fact that my kid is never going to drive a car. So I just had to do an advancement on getting my first child his car in a form of a furry animal, of
Right.
which you can't put insurance on. So it's very like safe, you have to safeguard them. But yeah, the expenditure was like around 16,000, and that was just kind of eye opening for me. Um, but through fundraising, and I don't know if it was as hard as my wife would probably say it was, because I'm more optimistic and an optimist by nature. So I probably just rose colored glassed it. But somebody had come to us, and we have a friend who owns a business, and they're like, hey, we were really trying to figure out a way to donate to some new organization. And, we like what you're doing. We want to support Dean, our son, but why don't you go create a 501c3 and we'll donate to that, and you can maybe use those funds. And I'm over here just hearing, we'd like to give some
Love
money
it. Right.
to, no, actually just hearing the positive side of things of like, we'd like to give some money
Oh,
to you. I'm like, no big deal. What's a 501c3? That's not a
yeah,
problem.
we could do that in 10
Meanwhile,
minutes.
my wife is like, no, we don't have time for that.
She's
So
like, I got a project. I don't.
inside story, if you want to know the inside joke about this whole thing, is in a good way, I went behind her back and I knew that Wake Forest law program takes these applications in the beginning of summer for their third year law students to do like set up
You need to do that.
nonprofits.
Right.
And so I applied, I got it. Then I had to go to like 2 night like seminars. And so I was like, I mean, we share locations, so it was really hard. So then I finally was like,
Right.
hey, so I'm going to this thing and they're going to do it for free. And She came up with Pawtism jokingly when we had to figure out a name after the
It's a
first
great
seminar.
name. It's a
She
fantastic name.
thought it was kind of corny, and yet everybody loves it. So,
No, it's great.
thank you.
So I personally like that it's because we work with so many families that are touched with by people with autism.
Mm,
And and the old saying of if you know someone with autism, you know one person with autism, right?
yeah,
So I, to my knowledge, am not autistic. If I am, I'm undiagnosed. And I actually have a client right now, an adult client with autism who we're training up her service dog, and she tells me all the time that I have autism, and I'm like, "Thank you."
yeah,
Um, so
yeah.
I'm reading Awesomeism, but it's a book from made by someone who works with children with autism, talking about, like, all the awesomeness that comes from autism, that it's not like, how do we make all of these things better, easier, all the things, like,
Hmm.
find an appreciation, and one of the things that
Right.
amazed me was learning that the vast majority of profoundly impacted individuals with severe autism, what would be considered severe, are cognitively typical,
Mm,
right? And I see all these kids who are 16 years old and they're being taught, like, their letters and numbers as if there is a a mental disability when there very likely isn't one. Their
mhm.
operating system is just different. So
Right.
I work really hard to try to learn more and more and more so that when I'm working with a family, I know what questions to ask, right? Because literally every single service dog we train is different than the service dog before because each family has a different situation. But we do bump up against families who simply can't afford it. Like they just can't. And we're very reasonably priced. We have a couple of different programs that allow us to do some kind of special things in the world, but we can't do it for free. Like, I can't ask my staff to work for nothing. I can't work for nothing even if I would love to. So,
Mhm.
I love that we found your organization and that there's the potential that, that a current family that's on our list can maybe get some financial support so we can really help them.
Yeah.
'Cause I do think most families go, "Wait, how much is a service dog?" And I will say ours, we have some programming that allows us to save people quite a bit of money.
Right.
We can't always do that 'cause so we talk a lot about not every dog can do the job,
Absolutely.
but if you have a family dog that actually is pretty well equipped, we can often make that work, and that can be a huge savings over, you know,
A new right.
raising a puppy that may really need to grow up before they can really truly offer full services to the family.
Right.
Especially like in Dean's case, he's growing and changing and developing, like hormones are changing, he's getting like all the things. And so he's a moving target. At least I would anticipate he is. That things are changing. And so the dog has to have an awful lot of flexibility and so does the trainer. So
Yeah.
so what was your experience with, so what kind of dog did he end up with? Like, did you have a family dog that we taught the
Um,
ways? Or did you get a specific breed or a dog that was, that breeder is breeding for service dogs?
yeah, we actually kinda, had to curtail a little bit of, like, family needs versus, like, needs for him. So, he was fairly, like, small, and he's still kind of small in stature as far as, like, skinny. Um, but we didn't know what he was gonna grow into, so we knew we needed a larger dog and couldn't have anything smaller than, say, 50 pounds, because he doesn't he wanders. He's not a runner. So, I mean, he can wander away from us and being nonverbal. So we tether a lot. So yeah, we got ended up with a golden doodle for the size and for hypoallergenic um, tendencies for some other family members in our house. So we had a Yorkie poodle that was like 9 pounds. and he would constantly like just inch up to her, but she wasn't going to be a service dog for him. So
Right.
we our main use is tethering, and we get the most out of that specific training trait.
So,
And we've
so explain to the people who don't have a service dog what tethering is.
tethering. It is, first of all, awesome. You get a lot of great looks from people around you because
Mhm.
basically, you walk your dog like normal on a leash, and then they have the service dog vest. And on the vest, there's multiple different clasps, and we basically have a belt that goes around our son's waist, and there's just a tether, one little clasp from the belt to the vest, and then they hang out together. Um, as he's getting older, would he ever be able to manage our dog is Wally? Would he ever be able to manage Wally by himself? I don't know. And I don't know if I would ever trust Wally to be trained enough to not like wander himself. But we've actually connected a second leash to the vest so our son can hold on to it. So the hope would be maybe one day we can get rid of the tether belt
Right.
and he can just at least know he's got to hold on to the leash. I mean, he
Right.
likes to stem on it anyway, so it's kind of a 2 for 1. But then there are times where he looks like he's water skiing and he's just leaning back, and poor Wally is just like doing everything he can to stay up with me because there's like 70 plus pounds of a boy just leaning against it, like the opposite
Going,
momentum.
I don't
So
wanna.
yeah, so I know this is just like he thinks it's hilarious. Like he just leans back.
He just
It's not
thinks it's
him
fun.
trying to.
It's a
Yeah, he
fun
thinks it's fun.
sensation.
So there's not much maliciousness in our kid. Very low aggression, so that's also very easy for Wally to deal with. Um, but yeah, I mean, we've taken Wally to Disney World, and it was almost like walking around with like a famous celebrity because everybody wanted to come up and meet Wally. But
Mhm.
basically, we tethered him the entire time while we were in Disney, all the way up into an amusement ride, and then we would untether, and then yeah, Wally got to ride a couple rides with us. That was even cool. So
What did Wally think of that?
not so much a fan of getting on It's a Small World. Nah, that's a pretty divisive ride in general, but having to like get
Yeah,
into a foot space and like a footwell and
right.
like sit down and go on a boat ride, he
It's
was
good
like,
practice, though. Like, it is
so
good practice.
it was
So
good.
so are there times that, well, one, I think most families are not prepared for how cumbersome it can be to have a service dog, right? That it really does change how life goes a little bit.
Mhm.
Have you guys had those growing pains with Wally or no?
Mm-mm.
Or has he just always made it better?
I think the preconception that one may have had going into it may skew like what you view as productive or valuable. And then the best illustration I can draw to that is like when if you've been blessed to, you know, be a parent for the first time and you're just kind of like holding the kid and you're like, I thought it was going to feel slightly different than this. Or I thought, and there's this, or like, this is way more like it's hitting me way more. Wally and Dean didn't like we saw other stories and saw other videos and like, read things like they're inseparable. Well, I mean, our son is a loner. He just likes to be left alone and like go off in his own world and just different floor of the house kind of deal. Whereas like when we're outside with Wally, like he understands that like they're gonna be together. Like there's not, and sometimes I'll even like let him off the tether just to wonder a little bit because I can lay eyes on him, but he'll like ask to be tethered back. But outside of that, it's not like they're just snuggling up with each other at home. And so I was kind of a little bit thrown off by that the first like, and to be honest with you, as most dogs I would imagine do, are going to imprint, as I like to call it, themselves on the person who gives them the most attention and the most treats or loves on them the most. And that is this guy.
Right.
So
That's dad, not Dean.
Wally just like as soon as I get home, I mean, there's nobody else he's more involved with, but he understands like his role is working.
Mhm.
So I think that for me,
So he
the
doesn't really need to provide a ton of services to Dean at home.
no,
It's
we got
more when we're out in public?
yes, because we actually the full scope of training we did tethering, which we went through. We did laying. So, to compress, they can add that
Mhm.
compression. That was thrown out the window within the first month.
'Cause
Actually,
you were
maybe
like, "Dean's not tolerating that."
Dean doesn't sit down. Like, he doesn't, like, have a moment where he will be sitting. So, in essence, if he's upset, we would have to force him down or sit down and then
Right,
lay a dog on top of him.
and
So
I can't
we
imagine that would be helpful.
no, so that didn't we were like, "Oh, lesson learned, didn't need that." And then we had to train him on touch. So, like, if Dean was grinding his teeth or he's a boy, and if, I figured as soon as he gets older, he might start touching himself. So we would have the dog, basically, we could just say, "Wally, touch," and he would walk up and nose Dean until we
And just
say,
interrupt behavior.
interrupt behavior. And that was good, but then we could also see that Dean wasn't understanding what was going on and was kind of getting a little frustrated at that. And we're really good. He's really responsive to us just going, "Hey, Dean," and he'll stop. So because he wears bone anchored hearing aids. Um, and then the last one, which is both awesome and crazy, is we did trailing. So we
Right.
trained him to trail, and he was really good at it.
We do that. A matter of fact, that's one of the things that most families that we've worked with a family member with autism or Alzheimer's and dementia,
Hmm.
we
Yes.
teach trailing, and they're like, "Well, my family member never elopes." And I'm like, "Yet." Like, we do have, like, kind of a standard deviation. So, like, for Dean, deep tissue pressure deep pressure isn't gonna be a good fit. If you have trailing and you never need it, awesome, you can use that as a game,
Yeah.
right? But a lot of times, children with autism, it's my understanding, like, when they are able to eventually communicate, like, if they have a communication device that they can independently communicate, they'll discuss that they just want a little bit of freedom. And so having a dog that'll trail is a very big help because
It
moms and
is.
dad can breathe and relax and take a shower and not worry because the dog is gonna trail the child. So we're gonna
Right.
be able to find them. And again, we do that for traumatic brain injuries. We do it for anyone who there might be a significant risk of someone walking off.
Now, see, that's fantastic because to answer your question, um, previously asked, like what has my experience basically been? And that is one of the coolest traits that I think can be taught. However, it is the toughest on families to keep up with. Um, I say because he's sitting next to me. Wally was
Right, it feels
extremely.
weird talking about him when he's in the room. You're like,
I know. I
"Sorry."
keep looking, but I also know people who are
You're like,
looking.
"You're a
They're
good
like,
boy."
this guy's like, yeah, this guy's having tics and he's just turning to his right. Um, when he was delivered and we had an in-home like training,
Turnover.
like just oof, it was intense. So 3 days in a row. Um, I mean, we're doing like full out sprints behind this dog who is like trained to just run and find this kid as fast as possible. So two things is what I figured out. A, if you're not physically able to trail with your dog, it is very hard to train the dog because one of the corrections that they were telling me is like if he's going in the wrong direction, you pull back on the leash, on the
Right,
30-foot leash, by the way. And I'm
right,
like, well, if you slow down or if you can't run, they're going to experience nothing but, restriction and correction. I'm not saying you
right.
can't, but then this is what was been told to us. And so, in addition to that, they're like, you got to do it once a week to get him accustomed to like your tendencies. And we're going to get him accustomed to Dean because he needs to only find this one person for you. So where he was trained to finding like the scent. We want to get him more focused on like doing this. So like once a week, we want you doing this. And
Well, and
then
in your case, Dean doesn't really want the dog with him all the time. Like, that's not a hat that fits very well. So it adds a complication for the trainer of Dean and Wally are potentially not really all that bonded.
yeah,
So you're asking the dog to find someone who it's not necessarily rewarding from that
yeah.
individual. Like, do you think Dean gets
W-
comfort from Wally?
That was actually a fun little note that they gave us. We had wet dog food, like little can pure, like whatever the brand was. and we'd have Dean with it at the end of the.
Right.
So Wally was extra motivated to find him. The
Right.
only problem that we ran into with that is yes, because that was the only way we were like, why would he want to go find Dean? And
Right.
but then yeah, we just found out that we did it for like several months, and then we were able to start stringing out, fewer and further. But we also have 3 other kids, and so we either had to try to find a babysitter to where
Right.
an adult can go and walk a long path with Dean while I wait with
Right.
Wally, and it became almost impossible to where like our service dog provider has where we've done this twice, and we've had him for 5 years, where we can take him back to the facility. We actually had and we'll call him board him for 2 weeks because Dean had broken his leg, so there was going to be no work with Wally.
Right.
And so they're like, here, leave him here. We'll
So
retrain him
that's
on
a
like
good
some stuff,
time to
touch ups, right?
tune things up, right?
The second
And
time
again,
they told us to do it, the second time they're like, his trailing is not good. So if you want to like re-up that, if you want to retrain that, we're going to need you to bring him back here, but you're going to have to come back with him so you can train as well for X minutes amount of time. And the reason I'm bringing this up on the podcast is that like there are good services, but then you can fine tune what works best for your family. And we were going to either kill ourselves trying to make this work for, like you're saying, what could happen in the future, not ever ruling that out. But we've had to take in the other outside. Well, it's not outside our family. Like there's just multiple kids, so it was really hard to kind of keep up with that training. But tethering, easy to do. All the other stuff, easy to do.
right. So I would say that if we were your service dog trainer,
Mhm.
I would be asking other service dog trainers, does Dean actually have to be a part of the exercise? Or can we practice because it's not a skill you really need? Can
Right.
you practice with the nightshirt that Dean slept in
Mhm.
where you don't have to make the whole family like discombobulated in order to do it, right?
Right.
There's lots of ways to create approximations without the actual person.
Right.
Like I train diabetic alert dogs to alert
Right.
without the person with diabetes in front of me having a low, right? Like we have ways, and a good service dog trainer should, if nothing else, be flexible
Right.
and say, okay, if this doesn't work very well this way, here's another way you can practice it. And any practice is better than no practice.
Great.
Because what if you do need it one day? Like
Yes.
Dean's 13. So, yeah, hormones are a thing. Well, and that's the other piece. His scent changes.
Yeah. That's kind of the point. Yeah. It's like all these things, like you're saying. My point would be is like when you get a service dog, you have to be you. That's
It's
the
a
other
lot of
con.
work.
I think that's the thing is most people found like asked us when we would be like, no, we have to go home and we have to really work with them like 1 hour a day, like at the minimum, and not, if not more, like with the clickers and everything. And they're like, didn't you just spend 15 plus $1,000 on the dog? Shouldn't it be well trained? And I was like, yes, but
He is
it's
well
also
trained.
it is well trained, or he is well trained, but he's also you're training him to your family. You're keeping these skills up. It would be like saying, "Oh, that guy's a major league baseball player, and he never has to practice."
Right. He still has to do all the conditioning.
And yeah, so
And
it,
and yeah, and I would say sometimes people ask us, so I'll give you an example. One of the service dogs that we work with, one of the issues the mom really wanted help with was that her daughter will um one of the side effects of what she has going on is that she will pick her nose or scratch to the point of like damage.
mhm,
And she was wanting us to teach the dog to interrupt the behavior. And I called every other service dog trainer that I know and trust, and that's a pretty decent list. And eventually I just said to her, you're asking the dog to make a qualitative choice, right? Can we teach the dog that if the child touches their nose, you do a headrest on them? Sure. But her nose is gonna itch sometimes. She's gonna have a cold sometimes. Like, sometimes when she touches her nose, she's not doing damage. Sometimes she just has a
Mhm.
scratch and it's a normal itch and she scratches it and it's over. And the dog can't, at least if you're a service dog trainer and I have this wrong, please, yourfamilydogpodcast@gmail.com, because I would love more information if you've got more information for me, because I like to learn new things. But I was like, in my experience, a dog can't make a qualitative decision.
Mhm.
Like, how much nose picking is too much nose picking? The dog can't tell time. That's a parental skill. Like, you have to monitor your child. The dog can't replace you or the teacher or the individual helping the child. Like, they can't the dog doesn't have a way of going, well, if you rub your nose once, that's okay, but if you rub your nose 17 times, that's a problem. Like, they can't, in my experience, they can't learn that.
Yeah. No.
So sometimes families are like, "Well, I want the," or the other thing I sometimes see with service dogs that come into us is the service dog company trained in a bunch of things
Mhm.
that create other problems for the partner. So an example is, we work with a family who their daughter has a severe traumatic brain injury. Um, they wanted her dog to alert to danger.
'Kay.
So the alert they decided to use was a bark, but a bark like sets off her PTSD.
Mhm.
So then she was fussing at the dog for alerting her, and that was the alert that the service dog company installed. And so we changed things up and did our best to help. But sometimes the situation just morphs over time. Like
Sure.
with traumatic brain injury, the best example I've heard is it's like Swiss cheese, and every day when you slice it, it's a little bit different. So the task the dog has to do, or list of tasks, morphs over time and sometimes just becomes incompatible with itself because it's problematic. So did you have any of, well, you said the pressure was, like, something that was not gonna work for Dean.
No, yeah, right.
So it was incompatible even though the service dog company was like, "Well, this is what the dog needs to do."
No, actually, that was the checkbox that we checked.
Oh, that was about, okay,
It was
cool.
like à la carte, so we were like, "This sounds good." I mean,
We
because
think this'll
he
help.
had been around service dogs before, and he liked snuggling with them or, like, laying with them, so, like, "Oh, that would be good to train our dog that he would be
That he can
expected
snuggle
to
with Dean
do
when
that."
Dean wants to snuggle.
I mean, then again, I'm trying to bond slash also yeah, we've he's, Wally and Dean sleep in the same room, and so Wally will occasionally feel FOMO about being around me or being around people, so we baby gate Dean and everybody in the room, but Dean's, like, loves his room, like, he never leaves his room, like, we have to go in and get him. So, like, he might be up at 3 AM in the morning because he just can't sleep, but he just stays in his bed, does not get out of his bed. So it's not there's definitely 0 eloping at night. And so Wally is, like, just more like he's wanting to get out. And so the bonding between those 2, yeah, that was it. But I felt like the lay was gonna be good, but then we just realized, oh, doing that, we didn't think about the piece that Dean may not want to, sit down for that. And so and if he can't say it, because there's a lot of children who are verbal and they can just be
Right,
like, I want, my dog to do this. Well, they can give commands like Wally lay, and the dog would be able to help that child.
right.
So, and also is like the different pieces, like you're saying, it's like it's just this huge Rubik's cube of just like you can
It
fix
is.
one piece, but there's another piece that you're not connecting because
Right.
you have to, so
We
all
call
right,
it twisting the kaleidoscope.
there you go. Oh, their kaleidoscope is way more beautiful of an analogy, anyways. But yeah, that is one of the things that, like, I think entering into this, you're thinking this is a solution. This is going to solve everything. Some I feel like do think that, and some of our applicants with Pawtism thought that too. Like
Yes.
they actually had a dog delivered, and then we were about to deliver. We were about to award the grant to the trainer. The trainer was like, "Hold on."
We got a
They
problem.
they sent it all back. because the dog
Yeah.
did not do what they wanted it, and it was the same thing, like, the dog had a little bit of an aggression at the beginning because there's a new place and, and maybe that
Well,
person
or
took the dog to a dog park when they shouldn't have in the first weekend of having the dog, and it was just kinda like it's just a whole thing,
it is.
um,
It's a
and
whole thing.
and
And
it's
it's even things as simple as, like, toenails clicking.
mhm,
Like, we've had people with traumatic brain injuries that toenails clicking, like, sends them into the ionosphere. Well, we can trim toenails and we can put caps on and we can do a lot of things, but there are times from the trainer side, it doesn't feel entirely like fair to the dog. Like
yeah,
a dog has to pant, like they just have to. A dog
mhm,
has to have some recreation, they just have to. And when that's not able to zipper in because of the big feelings the partner's having, then there's sometimes I think for me, it feels ethical, right? That it's
yeah,
gonna be at odds, and the last thing I wanna do is make anything's life harder.
no, that's right, and so I think, yeah, um, basically narrowing it down, when you spend a lot of money, you expect certain things, and I think that was, like, a big disconnect that I was going into it thinking that they would bond, or like other families we've gotten a chance to know and work with of like, oh, well, we thought this, but um, so yeah, I mean, this has actually been really cool too, because not only have we experienced it on the customer side, which I think gave us a good foundation for even creating Pawtism, but getting to see it all on the side of like just all these other different dynamics coming in have been really good. I guess I'm going
Oh,
back a little
because
bit
yeah, that's
further.
some of my questions. Some of my questions are gonna be, are
Oh,
you asking questions like, "What modality of training are the people using?" Because locally, there's a company that's a shock collar trainer,
mhm.
and they claim they're training service dogs.
I guess, I'll
Right?
tell
So
you,
how are you vetting how is anybody supposed to vet, like, is it a scam? Is it a this? Is it a that? Right?
I'll continue on. Hopefully, you just keep me
You're
reined in.
doing great.
But I'll continue the concept, inauguration of Pawtism. So we started in 2020. Fantastic year to start any organization, if anybody remembers. Um, just
Oh, I mean, I
right off
vaguely remember it was weird in
right off.
2020.
January felt great, and then a few months in, it was like, "Oh, I guess we're just gonna do everything remote." So we literally just took a full year of just meeting a few times with just people, obviously via Zoom, and, I came a little bit after that in person, but we just really took it slow, and there were some really big pillars that we stood ground on, and that was one of them, and the fact that, like, we it's a tough rule for us because we would love to help everybody, but we're only in a board of, like, 7 individuals, and everybody works and has or, like, they're doing other stuff.
Right.
They're not isolated solely to Pawtism. So we wanted to stay in the state of North Carolina so we could vet the training facilities. So we don't want to award grants to something that may end up being like that. And one of our biggest things is we don't award the grant directly to the recipient ever. It goes directly to the training facility. And we're the last money in. So we know that the dog is going to actually be delivered.
Right.
There's been one exception to that rule, but outside of that, it was just because that one training facility mandated that all the money be done up front before they even start training. So that was something
Well,
we had to
probably
walk
because 'cause they've
through.
gotten burned too, right?
Probably. I would assume so.
Um, I mean, we have trained up a dog and placed it, and everything's going great, and we follow up in a month and figured out that it wasn't gonna work, right?
Mhm.
That even adjusting everything that we felt could reasonably be adjusted, it wasn't gonna work, and that really that individual's life is not, um, a dog just doesn't work
Right.
for what they want it to do, right?
Right.
This individual actually needs an assistant,
Mhm.
like a human assistant, really.
Yeah.
So, those are really hard situations, like, we've invested, you know, 1,000 hours in training, and we've adjusted this dog to, like, try to really help it be in a position to thrive. in the partnership that was requested. And it can be excruciating. It's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard work.
And that's kind of where, we stayed in North Carolina. Um,
Well, I'm
now
sad
the
to hear that because my family's in Georgia.
Well, and that's where kind of the conversation would lead to today, which is like, um, we didn't want to overextend ourselves for two reasons. A, didn't want to get into the habit of like just doing it with anybody, any trainer.
Right.
Um, but also we have to like vet our recipients as well because we don't we have conversations with them. They have an application that they go through.
Mhm.
But yeah, we had kind of kept two North Carolina residents and taken into like there would be training facilities possibly outside of North Carolina. So we did open that up. Um, and so the training facility we've worked with once, that was in Ohio, but the residents were here. So I was just like,
Right.
well, that's your decision as a recipient to make that work. Um, and so the goal kind of was like, well, let's just go and see where it leads us. One of the main pillars, another pillar was we don't want to get to where we're watering down into like $500 grants
Right.
because
Mhm.
we're getting
It's not helping anybody.
overfilled with, and then it, do we get to a point where we're taking in 8 applications and only awarding one, which would be a typical grant process? But when you're getting these applications, and some of them being handwritten and with,
Right,
like,
and there are
these
people behind all those applications.
stories, and then we ask for pictures because we would like to make stories on our website, and
Right.
you're like, "Well, it's gonna be pretty hard
And
for
then do
us."
you base it on who's gonna receive the most benefit? Because then you're making a judgment call that way, like, "Well, you're more needy than this." Like, yeah, I don't know how you do it. It would be
It
spectacularly difficult.
we do have a financial question on our application. We never found a reason to remove it or, anything leaning either way. But it just, it does ask about annual income, and it does come up in conversations, but I don't think we've awarded dozens of grants, and over $60,000, and not one time have we been like, "This one needs it more than this one." And we've been fortunate because we have kept it so tight knit. Now we have had these really unfortunate emails where people are emailing us, and I kid you not, from Canada. And we're like, I first of all, how did you get a hold of our little
Well,
bitty
they were
website?
panicked. They were
And
panicked, and they were doing searches, and they researched and found you.
deep search, which I was like, that's pretty cool. But then I'm having
Yeah.
to turn right around and be like, I wish I could give you resources in your area, but I don't. We can give you some like, hey, this is in the world of what we live in because we have several like moms and dads of special needs children on the board. I even told a lady the other day, I was like, if you have any questions about how to navigate an IEP, my wife is a speech therapist and would love to help you navigate and show some trigger points as far as like what to do. So yeah, that's kind of been one of my like, it's eaten at me, like having to tell people sorry. But once again, to flip that and be able to say the grants that do come to us, as long as we check the boxes that need to be checked, are getting an average of anywhere between $1,000 to $5,000, you know,
Right.
of funding. So
And again, depending on the family, sometimes I can get it done. Like, we can start to finish have a service dog for an adult with autism easily within $5,000,
yeah,
assuming that the partner and the family can take responsibility and work through the program. And
mhm,
and we have a family, like I said, doing that. Well, we have multiple families doing that right now, where they found a dog that's a decent candidate. He's nice and stable. We evaluated. We said, okay, what do you need? What does he need? And I, they're mainstreamed. They're in our regular classes,
mhm,
right? And then we meet with them when there's something that's special that we need to meet with them on and support them. But most of the time, we're mainstreaming because the team has to be able to function in an environment with other people and other dogs.
right,
And I like the way we do it in that they're getting peer support, right? The other families in the room, if they choose to share, like, hey, we're training this dog as a service dog, the other families fall in love with them too. Right. And they're like, how can we help you? Right. So they're not so isolated because it can be isolating. And
right.
they have people who wanna help, and it's amazing to me how, navigating something that would feel simple, like, "Hey, when your dog has the vest on, no, people can't pet him," and helping like, right now, I have an amazing friend who has autism, and she's an adult, and the hardest thing for her is that she absolutely loves her dog and wants everyone to gush over him, and having to say no when he's working, and so she and I are working on not right now,
Right.
'cause that's a little softer, so, like, he's
Yeah.
working right now, but not right now, right? So it's
Right.
not a no, 'cause it's really hard to tell, like, a little kid who loves your dog, "No, you may not pet my dog," because the dog wants to meet the kid wants to meet the dog, and even though her dog is great at focusing on her, he's still a dog, and he's still social, and he still does wanna connect uniquely for himself in the world. So,
Right.
it and that was a big enough sticking point that she seriously considered making him not a service dog.
Mhm.
'Cause she wanted him to have a good quality of life too, and I'm like, "I get it." Like, I struggle with that balance sometimes as the
Yeah.
trainer. Like, am I putting this dog in a situation that they never get to be a dog?
Mhm.
Sounds like Wally gets to be a dog.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he does. He gets to be a pretty good dog, so it's
And
been good.
I would also say that you're kinda unique to a certain extent in that most of the contacts we get are from women. Most of the people helping train up that service dog with their child it's usually mom. So I love that
Mhm.
you're the one in it,
Oh, thank
bullying.
you. Thank you.
So right now you're just serving not just, you're serving the beautiful
No,
state of
just as
North Carolina.
a fair word. Yeah. Yep, it is.
You're
Yep.
servicing you're laser focused on North Carolina right now. That might change in the future. So, how does a family get in touch with you to find out if they're eligible for a grant?
They literally just have to check 2 boxes, and, we did I mean, sadly, I've had emails from adults because they just assume we only help kids. It's like, "Nope, you just have to have a diagnosis of autism." Because once again, we had to streamline it. We can't do seizure dogs. We're funds is I'm not, it just happens to be what it is. Like
It's a thing.
we didn't want to stretch funds out to where we're not helping people.
Right.
And once again, we are laser focused for the fact that we can make a bigger impact on a single family versus a minimal impact on multiple families. Um, so online, we have an application. As long as you check that first box and you live in the state of North Carolina, you're automatically included and you just need an application. And to this point, don't tell anybody, but we haven't denied an application that has come through.
Very nice.
That being said, there hasn't been a ton. Um, and we have actually mentioned in the last 12 months, like, hey, maybe this is something we can start expanding to surrounding states. Maybe like let's start with touching states like Tennessee, South Carolina, Virginia, and who knows Georgia, those kinds of things, right? Um, but then I guess I'll tell you our struggle, and that is I mentioned it already, but we don't have a workforce. So and that's I think we've only done 3 fundraisers since 2020.
Wow.
So 3 fundraisers, 2 of them being identical. And then it was one of them happened to be our largest, which is I did a 24-hour run where every hour on the hour I ran. It was kind of an idea that my wife got from another friend, but it was also just showing like, hey, families with the effects with autism in their family struggle all the time. It's a 24-hour process. So this is the run that we're going to do. And we raised like well over 13 grand for that. And then we did another thing like around a track, like a little come out, like a local Winston-Salem, but it was like, that was the outreach of where we got that.
Right.
And then I re-upped the run another year, which got a little bit less. I'm not even a little bit, like almost half of what it originally got. Cause you doing the same thing, you kind of already have bled that well.
Well, it can be a blessing or a curse, right? It can be one or the other. And
Yep.
it's not as if the need changes, right?
No.
Like, if you look at, um, breast cancer model, right, of
Mhm.
fundraising, they do a lot of the same kind of events over and over and over, and it gets momentum. I know when I worked at a YMCA, we did a triathlon every year. It raised crazy money. It allowed us to finance, all of our after school and summer camp. Like, anybody could ask for financial assistance, and it allowed us to fund that. So, one of the things I would say is, I wonder, so, I'm a big fan of God. If it's not God
Mm.
for you, that's
Nope.
okay. It can be
Same.
the universe.
Yep.
But I like to think that sharing this message here kinda shifts things, and maybe somebody is like, "Hey, I have an idea that would spin off into something that might be helpful." I would say, like most communities, in my community, there's an amazing organization called ESP, Extra Special People. They serve all sorts of different situations, and I could totally see them having a need, but also already having the infrastructure to do fundraising to provide something like Pawtism. So,
Mhm. Yeah.
um, I think looking to how can you maybe have a partnership with an organization that's already doing it. Yours is autism, but you and I both know, like, autism touches a whole bunch of other stuff too, right? Because
Right.
again, you know one person with autism, you know one person with autism. Like, it's different for each family. Um, but I do think, like, there probably are ways to do it between, like, so in Atlanta, Marcus Institute, right? That's where I used to always send people before we started, really doing training in autism with
Yeah.
dogs. I would use Marcus Institute when people had a dog. They didn't need services in the public. They wanted the dog actually to provide services at home. So if I don't have the public access piece, working with their dog to make things easier for the child with autism is a win, or mom and dad or siblings. Um, so I a lot of times was just contacting Marcus Institute and saying, "Hey, who do I send these people to, or how do I best help them?" And they've been amazing to just share information, because I can't know everything. Like, I gotta learn new things every day. That's part of the
Yeah.
world. So so it'll be interesting to see how this grows for you.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, looking at someone who does development, right? Because you guys
Yeah.
started because 'cause you're like, "Hey, there's a big need," and
Right.
somebody said, "Hey, I'd like to give money, but I'd like to be able to write it off." Fair enough. So then how do we expand that? So I've done a tiny bit of development where, like, you, um, you take 2 utilities or 2 banks in the community and go, "We're gonna let you compete for
Right.
annual giving," right? Separate from the United Way, because the United Way can be a fascinating thing to navigate too. And they do a lot of good work, and they also really can be very frustrating. So, I mean, there's lots of ways to do fundraising that
Well,
that's interesting.
if I may, I will get a little plug here because it's kind of cool. But I, in my world of business, I have a connection with somebody, a client, and then one of their employees has a son who just felt like it was time to change. So he just started to roast beans for coffee and created he's like, I'm going to make my own coffee and I'm going to grow it into a business. But he wanted to grow it in with a, a mission or so his
We
goal
all
was
love
to,
that,
right?
having a
And
mission.
he's like, I want to donate $1 per bag to some organization. But he also wanted it to be tied directly to something dealing with dogs. So his coffee is Bark and Brew.
Nice.
And he contacted us one time, and recently, and we've been going on for like maybe 12 months, almost. But basically, he's just every 6 months, he's going, we working together to where he's just going to donate um, those funds. And so, yes, like things come of it. And like his situation is he was trying to find something that would be worthwhile, legit, you know. And so, yeah, he Bark and Brew, like his coffee is sold nationwide. And e-commerce, and it's just really cool because I would have never really thought of something like that. Is
No, those
it,
marriages are really important. Like, those are
so
really so we have a local coffee house here that pretty regularly will create a special blend and can, like a collectible can for a specific organization or event. And the proceeds, like the profits go to that, right? Like, and I don't know, I also will be, if I'm looking at, two really good coffees, I'm going to do the one that is blessing the world a little bit.
yeah,
Like, in addition to hiring people, buying beans, like all the things, right? Because they're
right,
blessing the world. Like, many of us require caffeine in order to boot up in the morning. So, like, they're blessing the world already. But I do like when there's some value added
yeah,
of, 20% goes to this or whatever.
yeah. So I
Wonderful.
mean,
Yeah,
dog friendly
that's a
podcast introducing you to some dog friendly coffee, but
coffee. I might have to have them on.
I would say like yes, as far as like we are going, like we would love to expand our help and help so many more families. But I think as most small organizations are, they're strapped by money and time. And so
Yeah.
that's the mission's never gonna change. It's just
Well, and even finding a
continuation.
development person, right? Like, you've got to they have to be paid somehow, right?
Mhm,
And the ethics of their work is something you have to be educated on too. Like, um, I think a lot of times people are like, "Well, we're gonna do work at like a sales job," right? Um, but yeah, getting those more consistent corporate gifts or um regular giving where so I was on the board of a humane society. And the model we were looking at was, like, if you really love cats, if you're a cat guy, then you could sponsor, like, once a month a cat adoption, and here's the money that would be, like, showing them specifically what they're funding,
mhm,
whether it's, do you wanna support 1 cat adoption a month or 10 cat adoptions a month or 50 cat neuters a month? Like, how do you want your money to be used? And we found that to be really successful and ongoing giving. And then always estate, talking to people about, like, you can have us in your estate planning. And it really has completely funded the organization to a certain extent. Like,
yeah,
their new building is totally from they had a bequest. So, uh,
that's amazing.
of millions of dollars, and they didn't know about it. That was the amazing thing, like, suddenly they got a letter from an
That's
attorney.
awesome. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. So, I actually know quite a few organizations dog related in your area and a
Oh,
lot of trainers. So, I can definitely pass on your information,
yeah.
but those collaborations are usually pretty amazing.
Collaborations would be amazing because I love this next fact that that the funds that Pawtism has taken in 100%, not one penny has been spent on any money to a board member or any expenses to keep it going. So it's that has been kind of like through like donations of board members, like PO box and anything else that has to
Right.
be or like web page. But like 100% in goes directly into a grant. So I mean, that also could be said why we're not like huge because we're not paying for like a full time staffer or we're not advertising or anything like that. But realistically, word of mouth is what we need for the application side. And
Well, and you have a lot of universities around you. They
Mhm.
probably have somebody who's learning how to do development and needs a
It's true.
project, right?
That's we do live in the back yard of Wake Forest, so that might be Wake Forest
Right.
business. So
Yeah. And one of the things that we all learned during 2020 is that people can help from anywhere. So if you are someone who's like, holy guacamole, Pawtism is awesome, and I would like to help them, and you live somewhere else, we're going to connect you with Donnie so that you can help, right? We
mhm,
all get to vote with our dollar and with our energy and what we focus on. And this is amazing. Like, I want more of Pawtism. So,
thank you.
We'll have to I'm wondering if I can do I'm gonna chew on that and see if
Chew
there's
on it.
a way that I can try to help.
You're amazing, and I love what you do, and I appreciate you reaching out and letting me punt a month down the road, when I knew my head would be screwed on properly.
No, it's totally a thing. I actually so don't tell anybody. I actually decided that I'm gonna take off a number of days in a row
You brave human being.
for the first time in, like, 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah. Me and
What
my
are you gonna
sewing
do with
machine
yourself?
are gonna have some quality time. Well,
I
like,
was gonna
all the
say,
things that I never have time to do.
right.
Well, I'm so glad that Wally has been hugely beneficial to your family
Thank you.
and
Yes,
that it and that it's made Dean's world bigger.
very much so, and giving us just a little bit more freedom.
So, it sounds like Dean is marvelous.
And I would encourage if you wanna know more, you can go onto our website and just read his story. That's all you have to do. It's like we have his story at the top of the page, little picture of him, and a couple of the other pit kids, that we've awarded grants to their families. We're continuously working on that one specific page, which was my favorite page of the whole entire website, um, even more than the giving page. But that is the page that I'd love to, like, just, remind people, like, this is why we started, so
That's awesome. Well, I'm so glad your wife came up with an awesome name. So, if you would like to
so glad.
donate to Pawtism, all the information is going to be in the show notes. If you have a need in North Carolina, the information is going to be in the show notes. I hope you'll join me in supporting this magical organization that's loving the world. Um, if you can't help financially, that's okay. Just spread the word. Like, talk to the
Or
people you know and just share with them, like, hey, there's an organization like this. And maybe you'll want to start your own organization. And it sounds like Donnie and his family and his board would maybe even give you some good advice on how to do that
love
and
to.
not make it completely overwhelming because they've already done it. So I'm going to ask Donnie to stay on the call. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like and share, rate and review, give us thumbs up, buy some merch. It helps me defray the cost of producing the podcast. And maybe we'll even do merch that includes Pawtism. Donnie and I are going to talk after the call. And so thank you for spending part of your precious day with me and with the Your Family Dog podcast. And we'll talk to you next time. That's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for spending part of your precious day with us. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to follow, rate, subscribe so that you never miss an episode. We'd love to hear from you. Connect with us on social media or email us at yourfamilydogpodcast@gmail.com. We'll see you soon.